Right. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings, everybody. Waiting to click the go live in the IG. All right. Bam, bam, bam. Here we go. Fantastic. How's everybody doing on this fine Sunday evening for me? Could be morning for you, afternoon, whatever time of day it is. I hope that you are doing spectacular. Yes, my name is Miss Seisha, and I am here to read aloud to you all on this beautiful Sunday evening. And this is something that I brought back to our Facebook Live. And when I first started this back in 2017, is when I started. I was just doing Facebook Live. And then I literally just this year was able to inculcate IG Live as well as LinkedIn and YouTube. Now, I actually am not on live on LinkedIn. I'm live in those three channels as of right now. And then we will be able to upgrade very soon to be on all the platforms that I am active on. And I am just so happy. This is one of my happy times, my happy places. I really, truly enjoy reading stories aloud. That is one of my gifts. That's that acting part of me. I've talked about this before. I've even talked about it on my podcast, Real Reading Talk. Make sure that you go to all the podcast platforms to follow me there to listen to the podcast. And I talk about how that's where my reading aloud comes from, my acting roots. I knew when I was 10 years old, I said, I'm going to be an actress. Okay. Because I was a TV head. I wasn't a reader. I was somebody who was watching TV all the time. But when I got older, mature, and understood the value of reading, and I started reading to my children, and then I would go and volunteer and read in the schools. That's when I would always be told from different folks, whether it was children or adults, you read aloud so well. I love how you read. I love the how you act out the books. You make them come to life. You know, their faces. Everybody's engaged. All of these different things. So those things make me feel happy because I know that number one, I'm able to continue to fulfill my passion. And also, I am doing a great deed, which is getting the community into reading, in particular, our Black and underserved populations. All right. So, that being said, I am ready to read this book. Now, this was a special request. Okay. This was a special request from someone who follows me, who is subscribed to my channel, Reading is Freedom, my YouTube channel. And hopefully they are listening. I hope that they hit the notification bell because I did send out the notification when I put out that I was going to be reading aloud via StreamYard. And they requested this book. They put in the comments, they were like, can you read the Ada Twist book? And I was like, wow, I'm like, okay, I never got a request, before. So I was just like, that right there really gave me flutters. I was like, "Ooh, this is so cool, right?" So I said, "Yes, inshallah, God willing, I'm on it." Yes, indeed. So, bam, guess what I did? Okay, made sure that I ordered copies of this book, and we're going to be giving this book out when we have our book giveaways again this coming Saturday at our workshop, our free literacy workshop at the Huff Library for our parents and caregivers, cultivating a culture of literacy in the home, surrounded, it's cultivating a loving literacy home environment, right? And so this is the book here, Ada Twist, Scientist by Andrea Beatty, illustrated by David Roberts. A lot of you are familiar with Ada Twist, all right? That little beautiful Black baby who is just an absolute genius. So let's go ahead and dig into this book right here. All right, let's dive in. Oh, got the title page. Her beautiful cat. All right. Ada Marie said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and made her big break with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day chasing each sound in sight and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?" Why does it tick? And why does it talk? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why, and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child who wanted to know what the world was all about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out." Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zoe," said Ada, which got her to thinking, what is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis two. Then Zoe, the stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis two. It's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!" Oh no. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now. By the time we count three. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said, no. What? Ada queried. Her father said, go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada, once more, could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she thought about science and Stu and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked two. And each of those led her to three questions more. And some of those questions resulted in four. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was all about? They smiled and whispered, we'll figure it out. And that's what they did, because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and heart that is true. They remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asks lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade two? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question. And someday, who knows? The end. Wow. Absolutely amazing. That's the adjective that comes to my mind with this book. I love this book on so many levels. Of course, number one, by her having and a lot of parents, especially parents of children who have autism, they are struggling with having to maybe have a child who's nonverbal, and but that child is very smart. That child is very active. That child can really uh, have a lot of energy and can tire out parents. And that's something that I can relate to because I remember my son Musa, who's 18 now, but when he was 3 years old, 4 years old, very active, very energetic. He spoke later on. He started like using full sentences, maybe like close to the age of three. Took him to speech therapy, and then come, and later on start seeing signs. At the time, we didn't know it was autism, but a few years later, and just doing studying and researching as to what's going on, and we realized like, okay, he has signs of autism. Got him tested the first time, and they said no, it's not. It's just ADHD. Pick your drug, literally, and I'm not exaggerating. Um, and then we said no, thank you. And so we waited and just kept doing what we could. And then finally, he was able to get that diagnosis of autism. And I shared that story again. Like I said, I can relate to just what the parents were feeling like when you have that child and you're like, oh my goodness, uh, they're just so active. They're doing all these things. And then, not being verbal and all of that is, it can be challenging. But I love how in this book it was showing the realness. It showed that yes, they got frustrated because you're human. You're going to get frustrated at your children. But then they realized and they took a breath. And I like how they had the thinking chair. It wasn't going off and, get over here now, let me tap your hand. No, we're going to tell you to sit down and we want you to calm down. And then they saw, like, okay, this little girl here, she's an absolute genius. Okay. So again, that's this is a really really good read, and I give a shout out again to the person who gave the comment in my one of my read alouds on my YouTube channel, Reading is Freedom, and they said, "Can you read this book?" And I said, "Yes, I can." So I'm so glad that they requested this. I hope that you all have enjoyed this story as much as I have. And please make sure that you are reading to your babies every single day, all right? Especially when they're younger. I know it can get a little difficult when they're older. I'm always going to promote reading aloud all the way, even in the high school years, if you can. But even if it's not a whole book, even if it's just a little snippet, even if it's just maybe a paragraph, even if you're reading an article or some information from an article, something to where you all are having conversations that are centered around some literacy, something that's of importance, right? Giving them language. Remember, reading aloud also helps to increase their vocabulary. It helps their attention span. It helps them to be focused. It helps them to actually be able to have those conversations and be able to add to conversations. Okay, so reading aloud is necessary. So with that being said, thank you all again for listening. As you all see the ticker at the bottom, please donate to our nonprofit organization, ABC Read. These are some of the books, examples of the books that we give out to the community. And also check out the Reading is Freedom mug, as well as the shirt, y'all. The Ikra shirt. Ikra is the Arabic word for read. And so we have a line of those shirts on my website, readingisfreedom.store. So make sure you check it out and make sure you go ahead and order your shirt, your mug, your tote bag, your hoodie. It's hoodie season. So you need to be in style while you are promoting the message of reading. All right. Thank you all again for listening. My name is Miss Sasha. Remember to keep reading for at least 30 minutes a day, and reading is freedom. Peace.